Hi everybody, this is Heather and it's Wednesday, and this particular Wednesday happens to be Remembrance Day. I've been thinking a lot about that World War generation, the Second World War veterans who are still with us. And I think the thinking came out of a conversation I had with a friend of mine who lives in Toronto. Was a commissioned naval officer in the reserves during her university days, and so has a lot of strong opinions about war and what it means to be a member of the forces. And one of the things that she said, as Toronto is facing another lockdown and people are really struggling with that, is she said that when she thinks about the war generation, the seniors among us who could be most seriously affected by the COVID pandemic, that was a generation that gave up 6 years of their life during World War II and put their regular lives on hold and put what it took to be able to fight the tyranny that faced them in that World War. They believed in the cause and they worked for it, and they gave everything of themselves, both on the front and at home, to be able to make the world safer. And so therefore maybe we owe it to them to be able to do a little bit of that work ourselves. I've been thinking about that a little bit. And I've also been thinking about what remembrance means. What does it mean to remember? I mean, obviously, in this case, it means we can remember a time when life was restricted, and this is not the first time, and it won't be the last. And that can help us keep some perspective on what's going on. But I think there's even something deeper about remembrance, particularly when it comes to war. And what that is that war is something that happens when all efforts fail. War is what happens when negotiations fail. War is what happens when diplomacy fails. War is what happens when greed overwhelms our better nature, our kindness, our generosity towards our neighbors. War is often what happens when love is finessed and winning becomes more important than community or a broader community than just your own tribe or race or nation. And the reason why we remember war is because we don't want to enter that failure again. We want to remember the price of war. That war can seem like a good thing on this side of the battle when we haven't seen any of the horrors yet. But on the other side of the battle, when you're in too deep and you can't get out of it and your soldiers are committed, you might remember why it is that it's a bad idea. So remembrance is about remembering first and saying maybe we should not abandon the diplomatic efforts. Maybe we should work on the negotiation a little harder because we don't want to go there again. It's been 75 years since that Second World War, and sometimes I worry that we now have 3 generations of people who don't know what it's like to be lived in a world all consumed with war. And because they forget about what it really does mean when you get into a war. And sometimes I think some of the more recent conflicts that we've been in as a people, the Korean War, down in the States, the Vietnam War, and of course, most recently, the Afghanistan and Iraq conflict. Some of and I can't forget Bosnia and Kosovo and those conflicts, the breakup of Yugoslavia. My friends went through those battles, and I know the prices some of them paid in the midst of that. So that's why we remember. It's kind of like a flip side of what I've talked about a couple other times about the idea of forgiveness. You don't forgive and forget. You remember what happened. But when you forgive, what you do is you let go of the hurt that has been done to you so that hurt does not continue to claim a place over your life. And in remembrance, it's almost like the reverse. You don't forget. You remember so that war will not have a kind of power over you, but you were able to fight it, and you were able to not let it claim its power over your world and your society, but instead choose peace. And that's why we remember. Have a happy Remembrance Day. We'll see you soon.